Were the teenagers good or bad? Cowabunga! Carly yelled as she jumped high and placed her bright orange dune board beneath her feet. Mid-flight, the breeze tousled her thick brown fur. A huge grin forms on Carly's face. She screams, "Bayushka!" and she lands in the soft white sand at the top of Rottnest Island dunes. She leans left, causing the board to kick a huge plume of sand in her wake. Tucking in, Carly starts straight down the steepest part of the dune. She twirls both arms, mimicking Michelangelo spinning his nunchucks. Michelangelo was her favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. She connected with his fun-loving and free spirit. Carly surged forward at breakneck speed. She calls out, "If there's two things I love, it's dune surfing and, well, what's the other thing?" An emulation of one of Michelangelo's quotes. Reaching the apex of acceleration and speed, now it's time for the real fun. Shifting her weight left and right, Carly carves out perfect arcs in the side of the dune. Her knees bend, her tail acts as a rudder, and she leans into each turn. The wind rushes past, pushing her hair back in a frenzied excitement. Nearing the base of the dune, the momentum of Carly's descent builds. Walls of sand spray behind her like a jet stream. It's time for the grand finale. One last turn, she adjusts her stance to maximize her grip. "It's ninja air time," she calls out. She digs the nose of a dune board into the sand, leveraging her body weight with precision. The tip of her board burrows in. A cascade of white sand rises like a rogue wave in front of her. Momentum and the law of physics shoot Carly high in the air. The bright sun silhouettes her against the wall of sand. It's the perfect backdrop for her McTwist, followed by a rodeo as she soars over the Rottnest Island beach. Flips complete, the dizzying blur of blue skies and white sand comes back into focus. The horizon reorients itself. With acrobatic precision, Carly extends her legs. Her hind paws make contact, and soft puffs of sand erupt as her hind paws sink in. Her knees coil, absorbing the impact. She stands tall, basking in the thrill of the spectacle and the climax yet to come. An anguished glint catches the vibrant sun's rays. Carly's dune board, still airborne, is hurtling headlong towards her. A trail of quicksilver shadows follows across the dune. The board's polished orange surface leads to a misty slipstream of white sand. It's like a comet's tail tracing beach stardust. With calculated coolness, Carly steps aside. One paw comes up in unison. The board's top left rail lands mid-paw, ruffling her fur with sheer kinetic force. Carly pirouettes, allowing the board's momentum to carry her around. Mimicking an expert flamenco dancer, she pushes off with one paw and pivots on the ball of the other. Her dune board twirled like a colourful flamenco dress. It paints a fiery orange blaze across the sky. Completing a 360 with precision, Carly spins the dune board high in the air. She then plants its heel into the white sand next to her, creating a mini dune of its own. Jubilant, she leans against the board. Carly's whiskers twitched with excitement and triumph of satisfaction. It's as if she's waiting for a thunderous applause. Of course, she knows the cheers of rapture won't come. There's not a soul in sight. "Radical dude," she utters in satisfaction. The applause resonated from within. Carly's chest swelled with pride, not for an audience, but for herself. In her mind, Carly was more than a quokka. She was a superstar, basking in her own glory. Every part of her existence was a testament to her awesomeness because, well, she was alive. Carly picked up her dune board and headed back to her spot. The West Australian sun brought a tiny bead of sweat to her forehead. This little cove was her sanctuary, a place where she could ponder, reflect, and enjoy peace and quiet. away from the tourist bustle that frequented so many parts of the island. Shaking the sand from her green and orange beach towel, she spread it out over the soft sand. As she lays down, Carly feels the comforting embrace of the warm sand. Under her, it molds to her body's contours. She glances at the gentle waves. She slips on her sunglasses and lays back, enjoying the light breeze pressing against her fur. Pure bliss, she thinks. Her thoughts ruminate about her awesome life and adventures to come. It was tranquil for a few moments. Then her ears twitched. She was no longer alone. Someone was running along the beach. She recognized it wasn't her beach, and passerbys came from time to time. She'd considered putting up "Sharks don't swim" signs, but thought better of it. Whoever it was would soon be gone. She kept her eyes closed to avoid drawing attention to herself. There was a thud next to her, and sand kicked up over her body. Sitting up with an annoyed start and brushing the sand from her fur, Carly saw two teenagers kneeling next to her. "That was so awesome," one said. "Totally out there. That was the coolest," added the other. "We got to get a selfie with you for our book chat page," chimed the first one. She felt annoyed and a little fearful from the shock of two teens landing right next to her. Her Jungian dark shadow washes over Carly. Her face goes stiff and her eyes squint, projecting a menacing glare. In her mind, she hears the shadow's voice. "They didn't even ask for a selfie. They're disturbing your time. Tell them to rack off." The sun from the beautiful gleaming West Australian day tempered the shadow. Carly took a few breaths. Her tension eased. The shadow faded, letting the light filter through. "They're excited and happy. You inspired them, and it was pretty cool," the light whispered. Her face relaxed, and a smile lit up her lips. "Of course, I'd love to. Would that be with or without extra crunch?" Carly teased, as she brushed the last remnants of sand from her fur as she said crunch. A tad embarrassed, the teens realized their blunder. "Ah, sorry about that," they both blushed. "Don't stress," Carly winked, noticing they got her point. She stood with the two teens on either side, and they snapped away as Carly gave a victory sign. Excited, the teens thanked her. Then they headed back from where they came, chattering away. Soon the only sound was the gentle ripple of the water. Carly sat on her towel, watching the teens well into the distance. Still excited, looking at their phones and gesturing to each other. The Jungian shadow hadn't completely faded and remained present in her mind. The shadow scenario played out in her mind. "No, you can't have the photo. Get out of here. Leave me alone," Carly visualized, snapping at the teenagers. "Geez, it must be the time of the month," one teen smirked to the other. "Yeah, what a stuck-up cow," replied the other, as though Carly wasn't there. "How dare you," yelled Carly. "You hear something?" said the first teen to the second. "Think the wind must have stirred up some white trash on the beach," replied the second. "Best leave it here to rot." The teens turned and walked away the way they came. They raised 4 index fingers high above their heads, pointed in Carly's direction. It was only a reflection in her mind, but Carly felt the full weight of the horrible imagined interaction on her chest. She pondered the real and the imagined events. The teens had jumped down next to her. Was she startled? Sure. But she had no way of knowing their intentions without interacting with them. It was her perception and her reaction that colored how the events unfolded. Taking a deep breath, Carly drew in a fresh ocean air and then let it out a gentle sigh and smiled. She basked in the warmth of the sun's rays as it beat down on the beautiful beach. The teenagers were no longer visible. They would have headed back to Frankie's. That's where the cool kids hung out today. She laid back down and pulled her sunglasses over her eyes. She felt lucky. Her life was awesome because her perception of events shaped it that way. And she could choose how she perceived events. Soon the interaction with the teenagers drifted from her mind, replaced with the soft ripple of the water on the sand and dreams of the next great dune surf.